Lie. I'll tell you in a second. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to our Thursday live. As you can see, this is a different format, so I'm getting it together. My name is Renee Miller, and I'm the founder of the Love Cam. And this is my love and a member of the Love Cam, marketing extraordinaire, Mr. Chad Smith.
And certified love coach.
Oh yeah, and
don't
certified
forget
love.
that part.
Oh yeah, that's critical. That is important. That's key, right?
Right.
So we thought it was a good idea to come together today to talk about a topic that I think is really good to have male and female perspective, men and women perspective, because it adds a value to the depth of the conversation when it's not just hearing it from a woman's perspective. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the foundations or the fundamentals of communication. I have some thoughts around healthy communication, foundational ideas. And then we're going to talk about some scenarios because I want to hear your perspective. And we're going to talk about everything from how do you verbalize your insecurities? How do you be able to ask for your sexual needs to be met or be able to express them? We're going to talk a little bit about what happens when there's an issue of attraction and it's missing or things start to change. So we want to have a really good conversation tonight.
We're going in, huh?
We're going all the way in. So the idea is to, stay present with us, definitely share your thoughts, and, jump in. So I see some folks. Hey, good evening. Happy Thursday. But let's just jump in.
Now, a little housekeeping. We're not going to be able to see your names unless you allow StreamYard to connect to your account. So you're going to be a nameless, faceless individual until you allow StreamYard to access your profile. So there's a link to it. There should be a link to it right in the description. So hit that link and you can go ahead and knock it out.
Yes, and I love your enthusiasm. Facebook user number 229. All right, so let's jump in. All right. So here are my thoughts around the foundations of healthy communication. And I thought it would be good for us to just kind of talk a little bit about it, and then you add more because you don't know what I'm going to say yet. That's what I like about it.
Right. Complete surprise tonight.
That's what makes it so exciting.
Because I'm a little nervous. I might get sandbagged.
No, But here's the thing. When we're in private, we have the richest, most powerful conversations. And I always say I want to just bottle them because they're so good and we don't always agree, but most of the time we can really navigate and dive deep. And so this is our way to really kind of share some of our private conversations publicly.
Well, the PG-13 ones.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. All right. So one of the things that I identified is that when you're communicating with someone, the first thing that I thought about when I was thinking about this topic is that people hear things different. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure.
And from what filter? Like if I'm talking to you and I want to share something, what makes me hear it different than you? What is it that you think makes people hear things different?
Well, in my experience, people say things from a different microphone and people hear things with a different receiver. Mm-hmm. And it can be topic to topic.
Exactly.
We can be perfectly reasonable when it comes to certain topics, but then our traumas can trigger the way we speak about things and the way that we receive things that we hear and make it completely different than the intent. Yeah.
And a lot of times we have context about certain words, like even something as simple as female versus woman.
Yeah.
We've had a whole debate about that.
That's a pet peeve of mine.
And I was like, what's the difference?
Don't call me male. I'm a man.
Exactly. And so we've had this. So you notice I adjusted my thoughts because this week somebody else said the same thing. I mean, woman versus female. I was like, really? But again, it's how we see things, and then add to it our context, our triggers, our inner conversation. So, okay, so when we're communicating, we got to start off and realize that people hear things different.
Facts.
Okay. Then the other thing is, and we just said this, that people are triggered when conversations happen. So if they're triggered and you don't understand, like I was thinking when we first met, I'm gonna tell the story because I think it's such a great story because it's communication, it's boundaries, it's a whole thing, and I'm grateful. So when we first met, remember we were talking about something around Black culture. I don't remember exactly what it was. And it was probably like 3 days of us first dating, maybe like a week tops.
Okay.
And remember, I said something like, I think that's naive
Yes.
of you to say that.
Yes.
And you were like, hold up. I'm a very intelligent man. I don't see myself as naive, and I don't want to be referred to as naive. And we kept talking, but then I got back to it. Remember, I was like, wait. Let's go back to this conversation. We just started. We're brand new. Why did that trigger you? Like, what was that about? And it was uncomfortable for me initially because I was like, what just happened? Like, like what the hell? This man, and you weren't mean about it, but you were very clear in your positioning. And for me, I wanted to go back and figure out like what happened. And your context about naive and my context was very different. You remember that? And you was like, and I was like, well, if you call me naive, or you reference how I was showing up as naive, I'm not offended. And you were like, yeah, but I am. So that was just one.
Well, also remember, I also said, well, but I wouldn't though.
You did say that. I said, well, if you thought that I was naive, would you just say it? And you was like, and you were like, no, I would not call you naive, and I wouldn't say it. Even if I felt it, I wouldn't say it. And for me, I was like, okay. And it actually made me way more attracted to you. I was already like really feeling you, but I was like, okay, because there's something sexy about a person that can communicate intelligently without extra emotion and be able to express themselves. And it wasn't like angry Black man, but it was clear like I'm holding this space of owning who I am. And I was like, I feel you for that. I respected it.
Well, part of the problem that I've had in the past with communication was not recognizing what certain triggers were and why.
You did say that.
So, and not making my boundaries like super clear.
Yeah.
So that's why up front, I make boundaries like super clear now because I recognize what triggers me and why.
Yeah.
So, and I don't ever want to have an argument or a fight with somebody I love again.
I know.
You know what I mean? So because my debate style, I'm very direct, I'm very assertive, and I'm very, if I have a point, the point's going to get made.
Oh, you're going to come.
And it's going to get backed up, right? So, but I recognize that style is not, you ready for a big word? Not conducive to... It's not conducive to having that's what my therapist said it's not conducive to having a loving communication to where both people feel heard and both people are free to speak their truth.
I agree. And I would say, it made me think about something else. When we first, and even now we're still doing it, I'd imagine we'll do it for a long time. You have to teach people how to treat you in your communication.
100%.
And that was the thing that I learned. And there's been times that there's things I've asked you to do different, or you've asked me to do different. And it's really teaching people what your boundaries are and being able to communicate that. So really good point. Okay. Would you agree? Because we're just getting to foundation.
Just getting warmed up.
That people don't always know how to express their thoughts and feelings. And sometimes it's completely unfamiliar to them, the way you communicate and the way they're accustomed to communicating. Would you agree with that?
Oh, that's totally facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people, including myself, don't know how to effectively communicate how they feel, like in general or in the moment. So I've always been I'm a great communicator. Like I can talk all day, because just from my background in sales, but I haven't been the best. I would listen here, and I would listen so that I could form a response, but often I wouldn't listen so that I could really understand and be empathic to someone's statements. And sometimes I would get tripped up by the delivery.
That's what I was going to
say. And then
say.
I would go into fight mode because the delivery triggered me. You know, so now it's a fight, and now it's not. Now it's not.
There's no one hearing or listening.
No.
Yeah, it's something else.
But you have to learn. I had to learn how to get past the delivery and really get to the heart of what's being said.
So I heard two things. One, we all need to learn how to be active listeners, and we hear that word oftentimes, but we don't often take time to really have the intention to want to listen. Like I used to teach this skill, and I would say, before you can listen, before you can empathize, you got to first want to listen, because you got to retrain yourself. You have to have the intent from the door to want to listen, and then everything after that comes through.
Yeah, you have to want to listen to
you
your
have,
partner.
Yeah, you have to want to. Like, and it sounds like a simple thing, but if we want to be right, if we want to be combative, if we want to be triggered, if we want to be difficult, or we want to just be lackadaisical, that can cause a lack of active listening. But there's something else that I heard that I think is really important too, when it comes to how people don't know how to express their thoughts and feelings. It can be positive and negative. Like sometimes somebody can express, like me, I'm very vulnerable and very loving. And would you agree?
Definitely.
And I'm very like transparent, and I can, you know how we talk about pouring into someone. I'm going to fill someone I love up with my words, acknowledging them, loving on them, supporting them with my words. And for some people, that's like, whoa, I ain't never experienced. This is uncomfortable.
If you're not used to it.
Yeah.
It can
like
definitely be jarring.
It can be very jarring. Another example of how people don't know how to deal with their feelings is sometimes one person I have a girlfriend, and her communication in her household was yelling. Like everything was shame, yelling, arguing, making her feel bad, every little thing she messed up on. So people that come at her like that, she shuts down, because that was her whole trauma from childhood. Or vice versa. People can grow up in a household where communication was civil, and then they meet somebody and their style is aggressive and intense or loud. And it's a lot. Like, whoa. It's like you want to just clear that energy out. And so today we're going to talk about scenarios.
Okay.
Okay.
Listen, you have to see she has that, her phone just full of notes. Like she wrote a whole manual on her phone right now. It's crazy.
I did, because you know what? Honestly, I was in my car using voice dictation because I was so excited. Like, this is such an important topic, and there's so many different directions we can go. This is a 4-part series. Next week, we're talking about conflict and communication. This week, we're talking about foundations and scenarios. And I just want to kind of jump into how would you respond. So we didn't get through yet. I got a few more. Okay, a few more.
So check got a few comments.
Okay, so let's see. It's Kristen. Yes. Hi, Kristen. She's no longer Facebook user 1235.
Now she's Kristen Good.
Exactly. Okay, and then we have someone else that says we speak from a place of emotion. I agree with that.
100%.
Man.
Or some people can speak from a place of high logic and not speak with enough emotion.
We know anybody like that?
No one.
No one in this room. No one sitting on the couch
on the left side of
the left side of me.
Is somebody behind this pillow?
Yeah, no. He's right in front of the pillow. Okay. Or non-emotional. Yep. He was assertive yet gentle. Yep, I would agree with that. That's exactly what I would say. You were very assertive, but you were gentle. And I would say, going back to that example that I talked about a few minutes ago, how when we first met, the thing that I could appreciate is that my ego wasn't involved. Like, I saw the value of having healthy communication very early, and I valued us enough to not try to be right. You know, those kind of situations, you can get really uncomfortable. You're like, whoa, he didn't see me, he didn't check me, what? But I didn't feel any of that. I felt like, let's talk. Like, something I said triggered you. Let me understand. And the funny thing is, my philosophy around seek first to understand, then to be understood, that goes a long way.
It goes a long way.
Man, it goes a long way, because for me, it's about obviously we seeing things different. And then it also helped me to do some reflection on myself, which we talked about. Okay. My experience exactly. We were on an argumentative debate family, and I met people and that shut down. Yep, I totally agree. Hey Mike, this is Mike. I love it. Woo, that's powerful. I love it. Thank y'all for being with us. I think this is such a necessary topic. Every time someone joins the Love Camp, I usually reach out and I'm like, hey, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to learn? And communication came up, I would say probably 8 out of the 10 times.
I'm saying if we can all learn how to be better, more effective communicators, I think you would see, well, aside from picking the right person in the first place, I think you'd see divorce rates go way down.
I think
if
so
we
too.
just learn how to communicate better and listen more.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting is that when I think about the Love Camp and the work that we're doing, I always think about the need to hear and see each other, like at a deep level, not just superficial,
right?
But like if it like to really understand the heart of what a person is saying and feeling, and that takes a few things that we're going to talk about. So I'm gonna keep going. I don't want to give too much away up front.
Yeah.
All right.
You gotta wait.
I know.
Be patient.
Be patient. Okay. So a couple more foundational things, right? We have to make sure that timing is the correct time because that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Tell me
like,
one.
I usually when there's a problem, I'm a fixer. So I want to fix it now.
Okay.
You know, like when it pops up, I want to deal with it right now.
You do.
I do. But you know, I gotta scale that back. I've been working for a long time on scaling that compulsion to fix things back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was wild.
But you do a good job at that. Like I would say
I do a better job. I do it better.
With me, I think you do a good job
than I used to.
And that's good because one of the things I notice is that if you detect or you hear me say I don't want to talk about it, like a lot, and that's rarely happens, but sometimes I'm collecting my thoughts. You'll be patient. Now, every now and again, you be like, man, but you opened up the door. Like, come on now. Yeah. Don't do me like that. Don't do me.
Sometimes she'll give these movie trailers. You know, now I want to see the whole movie. Like, you get like.
I'm trying to sort my feelings out. And so, you know, here's the thing, because communication is important. Sometimes I'll start a conversation and tell me if y'all can relate to this. And I'm not necessarily ready. My mind is moving faster than my words can articulate. And so because I value our connection, I need to make sure that how I'm feeling, I've checked myself first. I've owned my feelings. I've owned what I'm feeling. Am I getting ready to say something biased? Is it critical? Like, and I rarely do those things, like criticize or do any of those things, but I still have to check in. So sometimes I'll open up a conversation and I know I do the movie trailer thing.
Oh my Lord. It'd be like, I mean, I'm going to exaggerate, but it'd be like, I'm trying not to get annoyed at something that happened earlier. And I want to talk about it, but not right now. Are you hungry?
I do that.
I'll be like, wait,
I
what?
do.
You can't just drop that and leave.
But I give you a heads up.
Yeah. I mean, wait a second.
I give you a heads up.
Man, that's like when you get pulled over by the police and you're wondering if you got warrants out, man. Did I pay that ticket, man? Am I like I'm going through all these scenarios, man? What the hell did I do, man? Like, what's going on? Then she's serving up dinner. I don't know if she put something in it.
You know. But you know, that only happens a couple times, but that does happen. Yeah. You know. And like another thing that made me think of timing. So yesterday, y'all, he was on his phone, and sometimes people get clingy. It don't happen often, but sometimes you miss people. Sometimes you just want to be connected, and I'm okay with saying it. Or if I'm feeling it, I'm going to find a way to express it. So yesterday, I wanted his attention, but he was doing something on his phone, and so I said something like, okay, you're not paying attention. I'm gonna put this away and I'm gonna move on. And you were like, wait, go ahead and say it. And I was like, no, I'm okay. I'm gonna move on. And I was in my feelings, But what did I choose to do? I chose to still put it away because I'm a little stubborn. And I was like, you ain't listening right now, so I'm not going to tell you. But what I did was I hugged you because what I was really needing or wanting was your affection. I didn't necessarily have a whole lot that I wanted to tell you. I just wanted to be close. And so instead of getting irritated and like going in, because we do that when we're irritated.
Yeah, definitely.
I just chose to hug you and be like, I'll tell you later. And by that point, I had adjusted my feelings because I was like, he's busy. I know he's doing a lot right now. It's not urgent. He gives me his attention when I need it. So it's cool. And one of the things that I think is good with communication is we've had conversations where when you're in the car, you're usually busy multitasking, getting posts done and talking to your clients and stuff. And initially when we would go on road trips, I'd be like, damn, talk to me. And what did you say? You said, if you ever need my attention, just let me know. Because I never feel attention deprived unless you're trying to get it done and we're in the car. And so I've done two things. I'll communicate it, or I'll just take some time to enjoy my life, get my best life with music on. Exactly. But what I'm saying, I bring that up to say, if we hadn't even said that, some people would have been in their feelings and not been honest about it. Right. You know what I mean? But me, I push myself, even when I'm feeling vulnerable or a little clingy. It doesn't happen that often. But when it does happen, I'm embracing it. Because I'm like, hell, I need your attention. Come talk to me. Give me a hug.
Do something. Hey, do something.
Get out that phone.
Wrestle me or something.
Wrestle me. Do something. Okay, so a couple more. Let's see. Yes, thank you. I try my best to be self-reflective because, we have to be accountable for our communication, our actions, and just like they have to be accountable, our partner or the person we're connected to. And then if we're both accountable and, we're integral with our communication, then that helps us to be better at communicating. We got to own our stuff, and I'm okay with that. Okay. Couple more. We both have to be willing to have healthy communication. Would you agree?
Agree.
Anytime communication is at the forefront of what you're trying to do, you got to be willing to have healthy communication. And does that sound like a basic thing to you? Because I don't think so.
I mean, on paper it does, but in practicality, no.
It's not.
Because you can't agree to something that you don't know how to do.
Exactly.
So I think if you're a couple, I think you should agree that you're going to remember that it's a continuing education course. Like it never ends. You can never really fully master it. Like things you're going to change. I'm going to change over the years, and some of how we communicate might change also. So I think it's a lifelong effort just to continue learning, in your words, best practices for communication and how to adapt to your partner's style also.
I agree.
Because I can't when I was my marriage, I wanted to communicate this way because I thought it was the right way based on what I read, right?
Yeah.
But my ex-wife at the time, she was more of an emotional communicator. I was more of a logical communicator, and neither one of us was going to budge.
Interesting. So,
you know what I mean?
So you were more logical. She was a more emotional communicator. When you say emotional, you mean she dealt a lot of how she felt. Like she talked about how she felt.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I got part of my frustration with our communication was that I couldn't talk sense into her, and she couldn't communicate in a way that I could understand her, what she needed, how she needed me to communicate to her. Mm-hmm. So that was like, I felt like sometimes people can feel like if you walk into the field on a football game and no one gives you the rule book.
I got you. And you're trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure out how to score.
I'm a systems guy.
Right.
And I've had to learn how to loosen up on that over the years. But at my heart, I'm a systems guy. And to have a system, I need structure. I need to know what the rules are. But that's not really reasonable because some people don't deal with their communication like that. You have to feel more than think sometimes.
No, that's true.
With certain people, but with Dana, Dana, my ex-girlfriend, Dana was a little more on the logical side.
And you're logical.
Right. So I thought that's what I wanted, but that is ended up with these logical debates that were supposed to be, relationship conversation, but they ended up being like head-to-head debates, and neither one of us won.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about it. So someone asked a couple of things. Enjoy your own company while he's multitasking. Agreed. I do that all the time. Do you both have non-negotiables, or do you have any non-negotiables before you met each other? Absolutely, which we can talk about. And then someone asked, please unpack that a little more, Chad. But before you unpack it, can you plug in the computer?
Oh yeah, you're about to lose the whole broadcast.
We about to lose the whole broadcast. We're like, dang, where y'all go? What happened?
Excuse me, as you see my ear. Excuse me.
Yeah, you see his whole ear.
See my whole ear.
Okay, perfect.
Is that good? Did it work out?
Is it plugged into the wall? Let's check. Okay, I know, right? I know it happens. It's funny. Like we moved the whole set around. You guys are coming in through my living room, so we just changed up everything.
Yeah, the set, aka the living room,
aka the living room. Okay, so you want to unpack it?
Which part?
So please unpack that a little more, Chad. I'm assuming that it came when you were talking about you being more logical and your ex-wife being more emotional.
Right.
And before you unpack that, would you say because I'm not an emotional, or would you think I'm more?
No.
What would you describe my communication?
Very empathic. Like you're a good combination of mind and heart. Like you're a great combination.
Oh, so, I agree with that.
Yeah, you're a great combination. But because you're a great combination, it's easy for me to become more empathic. Right? Like when I get frustrated, I get super high logical.
You do.
I
felt
it. When I get frustrated, I get.
What is this?
Yeah, when I get frustrated, I get super high logic.
Give me specifics. What's the time? What are you talking about? Where do you get that from? What's the stats? What's the data? One time we were having can I just say this real quick and then we can unpack it. So we were having a conversation about something because we always get on the deep. Our pillow talk is everything between like us to history to current culture, you name it, we talk about it. And I don't even remember how we got here, but all I know is that I was not agreeing with him. And all of a sudden he jumped into high logic times 1,000. And I was like, what is hitting me? Give me the stats. Where was it at? Where's the data? What's the reference?
And I can't even remember. I can't remember what it was about. But that was a throwback to who I was. Like that's what I would do. Like and just to unpack what I was asked to unpack when I was I was a bullied kid back in the day. I was a bullied kid. I was and I was made to feel weak a lot. So I don't like feeling weak, or I don't like feeling like I'm not respected. I don't like feeling like I'm not honored. I don't like feeling like
everybody can relate to that.
I'm not. Yeah. So my response to that is a complete logic storm. So this turns into a debate that should be there should be a discussion, an honest discussion.
It's an intense energy,
right? It's an intense energy, and that's what I mean by like super high logic. And super high logic doesn't mean like I'm smarter than anybody. It just means that
emotions turn off a little bit.
Yeah. The empathy and the emotion of now I'm just trying to win.
Yep, I'm trying to win, and
now I'm gonna win the argument.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna corner your argument so that it can't stand up against mine.
It's intense, and
when when I win, I lose.
Yes.
Because
win the war but lose the battle.
Yeah. I mean, I won the battle, but I lose the war.
You lose the war. That's what a lot of people are doing. They so busy trying to be right and intense that they lose the actual war itself because they're like, I'm gonna win this battle. I'm gonna be right. I'm intensified.
And someone's gonna have hard feelings.
Yeah.
And understandably.
You know what? I know we've
because
only
now, hang on, real quick. Because now, for me not to feel weak, I made somebody else feel weak.
Yeah, and you know what? I remember when we've only had that twice, 1.5 times, but the time that I remember, I felt that. But it was so beautiful how we came back. So, guys, we're in Tanzania. We're in the airport. I'm not gonna tell the whole story. We're in Tanzania. We're in line, and there was a whole group of people get in front of us, and we were part of a group, and they cut in front of us. It was like maybe 10 people, and I got offended. Like, what's happening here? And Chad was like, "We're good. We're cool. You know, it's not a big deal. Relax." Long story short, I was still in my feelings. I felt like he didn't advocate for me. He was advocating for these strangers, and that my feelings didn't matter. We get into a whole discussion about it. We're like ramping up, going out to the to the little small plane, because we're in between Dar es Salaam and Zanzibar. And we get on the plane. And by the time we get on the plane, like, he's feeling away. And I said something to trigger him, and I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to be funny. I really was. That was just my truth in that moment. Next thing you know, he's feeling away. He's high logic, like times 20. And I was like, what? I can't give you the statistical facts of why. I didn't know. Like, it was like bad. But what made it beautiful, talk about communication, is he was in his feelings, I'm in my feelings. And I knew I had to find a way to like bring it home, to like open, because I didn't want to leave it bad. You know,
y'all have a quiet fight. Y'all ever have a quiet fight? We had a quietest fight. We was on
our little
part of the plane. We had a little quiet fight.
So I said to him, it was a quiet fight. It was a drag out in our spirits. So it was like, I'm up here tearing up. So I said, we good? Now, of course, I knew we ain't good, because it was a whole thing. He was like, no, we ain't good. You just said,
I said, hell no, we ain't good. We got beef. Are we good? Wait, what?
She said, you ever feel like you gotta say something to clear to open up the communication? You know you ain't good, but I had never seen him that high logic, that like, I'm not feeling you right now.
She said with a chest too.
I had never.
So we good? That's it. No, we ain't good. We beefing, bro.
Long story short, because we got to get to the scenario.
Yeah, right.
Long story short, we full circle talk about how we was feeling. And we talked about, you know, that he would never not protect me and this and that. And it was beautiful. I'm crying. And then we make up. And all that happened because we knew the communication was important and we were working through it. And I haven't seen that high logic intensity since, because I talked about how that made me feel. Anyway, okay, 2 more and then we're going to get to scenarios. The more emotional intelligence and accountability you have for how you show up, and the more effective the communication will be.
Say it again.
So the more emotional intelligence and accountability you have, the more effective the communication.
Facts.
Can you just talk a little bit about why emotional? Because you are the most emotional intelligent man I've ever dated.
Stop it.
No, I'm serious. I'm not being funny. That is really
low bar.
No, it's really. I met some smart guys and so forth, but it's really important. And women, tell me if y'all agree with this. It's really important to have a person, but more specific, a man that can communicate without sticking his chest out, and he can tell you in a balanced way how he's feeling, even if he's angry, even if he's upset. There's some balance in communication. We all want that, but for women, that's a big turn on. But anyway, okay, why is it important?
That's a big turn on for men too. So like
is it
a woman that can communicate how she feels effectively? Yeah, that's sexy as hell.
Okay,
for sure, definitely. Yeah, that's because in my experience, a lot of women tend to be like guarded a good bit. Even I guess some men, men too. Men can be. I think humans, maybe in general, tend to be really guarded with the deepest parts of who they are.
I agree.
And so a lot of times you only get like so much. You get the surface.
Do you think that's because people don't trust? Because I was thinking about that too today. I think trust, which is something we always talk about in the Love Camp too. I think people communicate communicate full out when they feel safe and they trust.
Facts.
That's the thing I realized.
Yeah.
If you don't feel safe and you don't trust that the person wants to hear you or cares or receives you, you don't trust that they'll respond in such a way that makes you feel edified and seen and received, you're not gonna. And sometimes it's a subconscious thing. Like I was thinking about this today, and I was like, "Dang!" In my marriage, I rarely was ever vulnerable.
Well, that's a huge part of Patrick Lencioni's book, Crucial Conversations.
You're right. You're
Remember
right.
that?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
you have to have safety as a foundation.
You do.
For not just conflict, but communication.
Just communication in general.
But going back to what you were asking about emotional intelligence, that's part of the skill set of becoming emotionally intelligent, is knowing how to create an environment of safety so that those honest conversations can be had.
Exactly. I love that. Yes. Command respect instead of demanding it. Yes. I love it. Yes. Hey guys. Hey. Absolutely. Yes. That part. I love it. Okay. So are we almost done? Let's get to the scenarios. One more thing.
What's up?
So how you communicate is based on your psychology and your view of self. Came up with that one too today. What do you think? That's deep.
Yeah, I think it's one part of it. I think a lot of it is also, the old debate, nature versus nurture. I think it's a combination of.
Say more.
I think it's a combination of how you're raised, because how you raised that determines who you become, how you think, how you feel about things, how you respond to things.
True.
So I think it's all because kids are basically blank slates. What do we learn until about age 7? That's when they basically form who they are.
Yep.
At that point, age 7.
Yeah, by 7.
And then it's just fine tuning as they grow up and how they're learning how to respond to those things that form them. So yeah, we spend a lot of our time. Responding to that inner child, man. But that's a whole
nother conversation.
Yeah.
But the
nature and nurture. To answer the question, it's a combination.
Well, the reason why I say that, and this is for the next time we talk, but the reason why I think that's important is because if you don't feel worthy to be heard and received because your childhood or your adult experiences kind of trapped your ability to voice yourself, that also plays a part in how you communicate. You kind of suppress your ability to feel like you're worthy to be heard. You're worthy to establish boundaries. So all of that goes in. So your psychology of self and your comfort level and your willingness to see yourself and to be seen, that goes into your communication.
Agreed.
And that's a powerful thing. That's a whole thing.
I agree.
All right. So let's get into the scenarios. Yes.
This woman.
That's my favorite thing.
That's a little catchphrase.
I walk around the house saying that. Okay. All right, let's get into a juicy one. I got 2 juicy ones.
Okay.
So this morning we were talking and I was preparing for this. And I was just thinking, and I said, so Chad, if I was if you became unattractive to me, would you tell me? And you were like, well, when would that happen? Like, what are some examples? And I was like, well, if my hair is jacked up or if I gain weight. And what did you tell me? What did I say? Hair, clothing. We talked about all the things that you find attractive. So what did you say? Would you tell me if I became unattractive to you?
I think you have to, yes. Mm-hmm. But how you do it's important.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to tread carefully.
Okay.
Fellas, you got to tread lightly on this one. Okay. You got to tread mad lightly.
So what would be your approach? You remember the 3 things you said? So what would be your approach?
Well, it's questions, not statements to me. Okay. So it's always, I prefer the open hand approach rather than the closed fist approach. Uh-huh. So first I would ask, hey, I'm not sure, but I'm noticing that there's a little more of you to hug than it used to be. Uh-huh. I mean, is this something that you have also noticed? And if you have, do you care about it? And do you want to change it?
See, and I like that. And the last question.
And if you do want to change it, what do you need from me to help you?
Yes. Isn't that good? He was treading very lightly. You hear that? Because you know,
to tread real light
with
on that
women, we want to make sure. And what we also said, we started out by saying that we feel like Black men in particular could provide more grace for Black women. And when we say grace, we're talking about like when you get in your 40s and your 50s, two things we said. Black men need to provide more grace, but also Black women have an opportunity to be accountable to be their best self, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So both parties need to recognize how they're contributing to the conversation and how to make the relationship better. So for me, if you notice it, you know how much weight is for me and how I work through it. And when you get in your 40s and your 50s and even your late 30s, your metabolism starts going through stuff, hormones.
Oh, you're late 30s.
Man,
yeah, you're in your prime now.
Man, it's like
your prime.
Nah, my metabolism slowed down at 30. Even though I was running marathons and stuff, like running, I still was noticing it was harder. So, I guess the point is that we were saying you would tell me, but how you would tell me is the most important thing. It's a little more of you to hug these days. You okay?
hey, listen.
Somebody say, ain't no win here, brother.
Listen, my girl's got firearms, man. Look, I can't be getting, listen. She's from Pittsburgh too, so she half thug.
Low key, right? Low key.
She half thug. She's part thug. She's raised in those streets of Pittsburgh.
Low key, but so seriously, when you say ain't no winning here, for some women that would be hard. Like for me, it would sting a little bit, but if I know I have a partner that wants to help me and is not treating me like I don't have value because I put on extra pounds, because that's the thing I see in communication.
It goes back to how you treat that person outside of that.
Correct.
In general, like if you're always being like an asshole to that person,
right?
No matter what you say or how you ask it, it's always going to make it sound like more of an asshole.
Exactly. So, but just some notes. If you're gonna say that, you're gonna tell your girl that, make sure you say it the right way.
Say it with love.
Say it with love.
Preferably after a few drinks.
No, because it ain't my story. Okay, another juicy one. How do you communicate your sexual preferences or needs? Somebody's not happy or somebody wants more. Somebody feels like there's more that they're looking for. How do you communicate that? What do you think?
Are we still PG-13?
Are we PG-13
still?
Well, these are adults in here.
Are we still 13?
No, we adults.
No, all right.
We grown. Love Camp After Dark. By the way, if you guys want more of these kinds of conversations, you should join us for Love Camp After Dark, because we have love camps where we do every day of the trip where we get together and we talk about juicy topics that
grown folk
stuff. But we getting a peek. We grown folks. Let's do this.
Just come out and say it. I mean, don't say it like, man, why don't you? Nah, like, no, just be honest. To say, this is something that I would like either A, to include, B, exclude, C, get more of.
Yes, that's good.
Or, 4, experiment with.
That's what I was going to say. So usually I'll ask you, I'll just be like, can we try this? Are you open to that? I like that. There's a worksheet called I Will, I Won't. And it's great. We haven't done it yet.
We have yet to write that thing.
We've had it for a year. But it's a wonderful checklist of things that, and I mean, it's like 10 pages of all the things that you want to talk about, that you want to be willing to do in your sexual life. And so I recommend that. I think it's a great way to explore, but it's also a great way to communicate what you like and what you don't like. And it's experimentative. Okay. That's a good answer. I would agree with that.
Well, thank you.
I would agree. All right. How do you communicate insecurities, men and women? What do you think? Insecurities, like maybe a man is feeling insecure about finances or his ability to do for a woman, or
let me lay out this scenario. So let's say this. So let's say you're working in Metro, right? And let's say every day when I see you, you're talking about this guy Harold in the office, right? You're talking about Harold every day you're laughing about, oh, Harold said this, he's so funny. Oh, Harold brought me lunch today. Harold, he's so
My work husband.
Yeah, he was so sweet. He brought me lunch today. Harold this and Harold. So some people, like, to be honest, I'd probably feel some kind of way about Harold.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty protective. So some people will call it insecurity. And just for the record, there's nothing wrong with insecurities. Like, everyone has insecurities. There's about something. There's nothing wrong with it. Your insecurities are a byproduct
Deaf to work husband.
of things that you've been through in your life. What'd you say?
Deaf to work husband.
Listen, deaf to work husbands, man. Listen, they all got to go.
They all got to go.
They got to go.
So
but hold on, let me finish my thought.
Okay.
So if I feel some kind of way about that, I'd be like, hey, I know that you don't want anything to do with that dude. Like I get it. But when you talk about him every day, it makes me feel some kind of way about that. So, I don't mind you and Harold being friends. It's cool. You guys are great. You're having a good time at work. But I would just want to hear less about Harold when you come home with me. Can I have, that's my time.
Y'all agree with that? Harold is a chump.
Listen, now that being said, I'm also going on LinkedIn and looking up Harold. I'm Googling Harold. I'm going to find out his address. We may have to have a little conversation, me and Harold, especially if he's single.
Okay, because you don't want him to be slow, low key, having a romance.
She'll be like,
relationship.
no, you and Harold should be friends. Like, y'all should be cool. But meanwhile, I'm showing up at Harold's lunch spot that I stalked out. Oh, what's up, bro? How you feel?
Okay, well,
or Harold's gonna get that extra firm handshake at the company party.
Oh yeah, I've seen you do that before.
You seen the handshake
to establish your male energy. I've seen you.
You seen the handshake?
Straight face. And I'm like, okay, what was that about? Okay, so I'm gonna give you my opinion for insecurities, because women have insecurities, and there's been quite a few, not a lot, but there's been insecurities I've talked to you about. And my approach has always been, let me give you a heads up that this is a sensitive topic. And that's code for, I need extra empathy because this is hard for me to say. Insecurities can show up also for people that don't know how to ask for help.
Yeah.
Like insecurity and vulnerability, those two be the best friends. Like they sitting there looking like, you really want to say this? You sure you want to talk about that? So for me, my approach is always give kind of like a prelude. Like, hey, this is a sensitive topic for me. I need you to know that this is hard for me to say, but I'm feeling da-da-da-da-da. And then usually when I do that, you usually say, well, what do you need? Sometimes you'll coach me, and I'm like, yo, I didn't see a full-fledged coach situation happening.
I'm going to see you on the couch real quick.
Yeah, let's talk about this. What? Did nobody ask for a coaching session? But it's always good. It's always good. Okay. So.
And also remember that your insecurities, it's your insecurities. Like, that person didn't create them. Now,
that's a good point.
Now, sometimes certain behaviors may expose them.
Yeah.
But your insecurities are yours.
And they're yours to work through.
Right.
That's the thing that I own. Because there's a difference between being accountable and being responsible. And let me clarify, because I've worked with quite a few clients on this, and sometimes it's challenging for people to understand the difference. Being accountable is owning your contribution to a situation. Like you're accountable to your choices and your part in a situation.
Your thoughts, your words,
your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your deeds. Exactly. But responsible means you own it. Like you're responsible to be a custodian over this. You're responsible to care for a thing, own a thing. And sometimes some stuff, it don't have nothing to do with another person, but we want to put it on that other person, either project or we want to make that person be part of the situation, and it's ours to fix. And I think sometimes that happens with communication. People want to make other people responsible for their feelings, for their errors, all of that. If you feel a way, I can only be accountable for what I contributed to it,
Right.
but you have to be responsible for your feelings.
But both sides of that are very mature.
They are.
I mean, being able to say, oh, you know what? I can understand how what I did may have triggered that in you, and I apologize. And on the other side, I mismanaged my response to that, and I apologize.
I like that mismanaged.
That's two levels. That's two sides of maturity.
It is, and it's to me, I think again that's emotional intelligence. Like when people are able to manage their emotions, manage their choices, their words, it just changes the dynamics of communication. But that's a skill within itself. That's
100%.
not an easy.
No, it's not easy.
You got to actually be willing to go after and learn self and be self-aware and self-manage. Like when I shared that example, when I gave you a hug, when I really wanted to be like, hey, I want your attention. What's up? But I had to self-manage and be like, hold up, it ain't that deep. What I really need is a hug. And then I went right back to my world, living my best life. So sometimes that's also about self-managing. All right. Let's talk about two more because I want to be mindful. Oh, it's mindful of our time. This time went fast.
You got about 10 minutes.
I know. Okay. It's rare that someone would express their insecurities. They usually act out. That is true.
That's facts.
That's facts.
That's 100% facts.
That's facts. They usually just act out. But see,
because that's a response.
That's a response because they don't feel safe to be able to express it. But see, let me say this. One of the things that I was thinking about today, and I did a video, I just didn't post it.
I'm sorry, reaction, not response. It's a reaction.
Yeah.
Response is a choice.
You're right. Reaction is
autonomic.
Good point. And one of the things to that point is that we got to get to a place where it's normal to be integral for how we show up. Not perfect, because we are people that have trauma and it can't stop at I got trauma. It got to be,
right.
I can own that I have some work to do because some of this stuff is generational. And I was thinking today about how, Kevin Samuels became very, very popular, his message, his truth. And I'm not going to get into agree or disagree with him, but what I thought about is, wow, what if it was normal to be integral to each other? What would that look like? Like to be, responsive, respectful, embrace each other, edify each other. Like that's where we're going. So I feel like part of this work that we're doing is to do healthy responses. Like it's not going to happen overnight, but if we don't start owning how we choose to show up, then it'll never change.
Well, you made the big word, the most important word, choose.
Choose.
How do you choose to show up instead of how that hurt child is
go out in the world
walking you into the room,
right, in one route, that hurt child be showing up. Because see, I'm big on recognizing that we are contributors to people's pain or healing. Point blank. How we communicate, how we interact, either we're helping someone aid in their healing, or we're causing further damage and setting them back. And I think like that. And so what I say, how I act, that is my intention at all times. So I think we ran out of questions, but I because we have more, but we got another live next week. So are there any thoughts that you guys have or questions? We're so grateful you guys are with us today. And it says to do this, we have to know and understand ourselves. Absolutely. Part of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. Like that's one of the tenets. You have to know yourself. You have to know your tenets. And again, that psychology of self. If you don't feel worthy or you don't feel empowered, some people never felt empowered to speak their truth. So communicating their truth is almost like foreign. It's like a foreign activity, So I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to do and what we are doing is shifting and redefining what's healthy. Like just because it's common doesn't mean it's healthy.
Right, exactly.
Just because it's familiar and it's happens all the time.
Well, it's just the way I am.
Yeah, it's just the way I am.
It's just the way I do.
This what we do. No, like is that your highest and best, or are you even walking towards your highest and best? because that's how we're going to heal when we do something different. But I think we are afraid, honestly. Yeah, I agree. You think
Oh
we're
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think we're afraid. I agree with that. But
I think a lot of us are afraid to really take a look at those broken parts of us.
oh man,
We're
yeah.
so afraid of it. I know when I was in therapy regularly, that was the roughest part was getting those little nasty bits exposed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's different when you walk around with all that stuff buried,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it never really gets buried. It just gets stacked.
And then it acts out.
It's just stacked, yeah, and it's just waiting
Yes, it's
to
like
come out. You know, when
exactly.
like you came in, yeah, you can. When you get so much,
Yeah.
it's sort of like, what's the scenario? Like when you're trying to stuff a suitcase, you can only stuff so much in
So
it.
much. And it's got to find an
before it starts
expression.
coming out.
Yeah, I always
know?
say that. It's going to find an expression. It has to.
But going to therapy, especially to my brothers out here, going to therapy unpacks that suitcase. Right.
Yeah.
And it just starts getting rid of stuff that you don't need anymore. And it makes room for all new good stuff to put in that bag, all new good stuff. Like you don't have room in your life for a real healthy kind of love until you can empty out all the nasty stuff that you have in that, all those unwashed laundry, those smelly socks, them drawers you had since you was in middle school.
Yep.
They got the holes in them.
Yep.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the holes. You can't put nothing in that, and everything clean you put in that suitcase is just going to get dirtied up. Yep. It's not going to fit, and it's going to have to get, ejected. So.
Exactly. Well, you know what came to mind? As we go out, I was thinking about Bag Lady by Erykah
Lady.
Yeah. You going, master. Because if you listen to the lyrics, there's all these different scenarios of women that have issues, and it's not just women, it's men and women. Let's be clear.
Nah, that's all. No, women have way more than men.
Whatever, not true. Don't listen to him.
Women have way more baggage.
Whatever, he don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Not true. But guys, we thank you so much for being here with us today.
Wrap it up. Give me final thought.
So my final thoughts about this particular topic, and just so you know, next week we'll talk about communication and conflict. But my topic about today is there are 3 points that stand out to me. One, you definitely want to communicate first, seek to understand before seeking to be understood. Very, very powerful because it'll ground you in the intention of being present and wanting to understand the person you're communicating. The other thing is, I would say definitely practice wanting to listen. I'm still working on that because, sometimes I get all excited, want to say stuff, and then I got to jump in. And as you heard a couple times, Chad was like, wait, let me finish. So training yourself to want to listen. That's something I still work on. I deal with my clients wonderfully.
Yes, you do.
Wonderfully. But
in fact, you do.
I got work on it in my personal relationships, but that's okay. Work in progress. And I would say the third point you definitely want to think about is when you're communicating, what is your psychology about really being heard? Do you really want to be heard and received? And if that's the case, what's the best method to do that? From timing, from the person you're choosing to communicate with, the style of communication. Consider all of those things and first be the source of yourself, because at the end of the day, you can only control you, but you can also influence the person you're communicating with.
There you go. I like that. You don't control, but you can influence.
Influence, yep.
I dig it. Yeah, communication is 100% the number one skill. I feel like everyone should have to go through a course on communication and conflict before they are allowed to get married. You should have to pass an exam, like a state exam. You should have to pass an exam to get that marriage license. Like I have to get CEUs every 2 years to maintain my insurance license, but I can make a whole financial partnership with somebody with no training.
No training.
That makes no sense.
Not at all.
When I run for governor after Westmore's done, I don't want to run against that brother. When I
governor.
want to run for governor, that's the first thing I'm doing is I'm putting an exam in place before people get married.
You heard it here.
That's my whole platform.
You heard it here. Guys, have a wonderful Thursday evening. I love someone said the analogy was great. The suitcase,
Oh,
I
thank
would
you.
agree. Great analogy.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being with us. Remember Thursdays, 8 p.m., where we share lives. Do not hesitate to share with us comments you think, topics that we can share for next time. Have a wonderful evening.
And one last thing, you're launching a website soon.
Oh, yes. And so we're going to have our live Love Camp website real soon. It's active, but we're making some tweaks. And we're going to be in the next couple of weeks telling you all about some of the events that we're doing, because we have several retreats coming up and we have several things that we want to offer to you guys to continue to support. Bless you, love. To continue to support your growth and development. And we invite you to join us because this is an effort together. Happy Thursday and have a wonderful Friday. Thank you. Great job. Great combo. Love.